Welcome to today's session where we are going to begin our discussion on terms and concepts. In this particular session, we will discuss about paradox, antithesis, and oxymoron. Let's begin with paradox. If we see its definition, it goes thus: a paradox is a statement, proposition, or situation that seems illogical, absurd, or self contradictory. So, paradox, we can say any statement is paradoxical when we find it self contradictory, when we don't agree with it as per our perception or what we think of, and it seems to us very silly and nonsensical. There will be paradox, but there is a condition. Every silly term, we can't say that this is a paradox. There is a condition, but which, upon further scrutiny, may be logical or true, or at least contain an element of truth. We can say any term, not any statement paradoxical when we analyze it further, when we examine it further, and we find a truth, a hidden truth in it. Then only that statement can be called paradoxical, or there is a device that there will be a figure of speech paradox in it. For example, I always lie. Now, this statement is self contradictory because the person who is saying I always lie, then this term itself is wrong. If he is saying I always lie, that means he is telling lie, he doesn't lie always. So, this such type of self contradictory term which seems absurd, but there is a hidden truth or there is some other aspect of that which is which creates more sense, there is paradox, and that term is paradoxical. We will see more examples. And why does a writer choose to write a paradox if any thing or any message can be conveyed through simple and straightforward manner? So paradox is used for the purpose of providing enjoy to the readers. For example, if reader reads any uncomplicated statement, then he doesn't find it more enjoyable than when he reads any paradoxical statement and he start thinking of it draws his attention, that it gives him at once a spark that what is it, and it draws suddenly its attention. When a statement is not simple, then it draws the attention of the reader, and reader takes a position of an explorer, and when he or she extract the meaning out of the writing, it gives a certain pleasure, or it gives a certain enjoyment to the reader. So one function of literature is to provide enjoy to its reader, and that purpose it serves. And one more thing, paradox is also used, or paradox also gives a reader or provides a different perception to reader. It makes the readers think in an innovative way, and that is also the function of paradox. Let's see some more examples. I think that then it will be more clear to you. So the first is, the deceiver claimed all men are liars. Now the claimer is deceiver, whose own credulity or who is not so trustworthy, and he is claiming all men are liars. So there is a sense of paradox in this. It is paradoxical statement. I am nobody. Now if any person is saying I, that means he has a personal identity, and he is saying nobody, and once we read it, we find it an absurd statement. What is this I am nobody? If any person is I and nobody, how can it make sense, or how can it be possible? But if we go deeper and if we look further, then it can be in this context that a person has a personal identity, but in the social context, a person has no value. Person thinks that socially he is nobody, he has no social identity. In that sense, it comes out to be true. I am nobody. Third is, to bring peace we must war. Now in this statement, at once, at first glance, what we find that if a person is advocating peace, then how can he be in the favor of war? But it can be the scene, it can be in this, but in on the whole, then whole scenery when we observe, then it can be this condition that the ultimate option to bring harmony or order can be only the war. This can be the only option left with the speaker, that he is saying that we have to engage in battle or war if we want to bring peace, harmony or order. So these all are the paradoxical statements which are not simple but yet contains a deeper truth. There is a latent truth in it. I hope that now the sense is becoming more clear to you. Let's have more examples from literature. This example is from George Orwell's Animal Farm. It is a famous novel, and in this novel George Orwell has provided or has written this statement which is paradoxical. This is one of the important rules which the citizens of the have to follow, which is all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Now, after reading this, at once we find that it is not making any sense. But to look deeper into it, we find that George Orwell is pointing out to a political truth, where he wants to convey that the government who is releasing such rules, they are saying that for us everybody is equal, but they are dealing but some are more equal than others. It suggests that they are not treating equally to everyone. So here this inequality, this discrimination is illuminated by this paradoxical statement, and George Orwell has employed this technique in order to highlight the inequalities of the government, who shows that they are in the favor of egalitarianism, in the favor of equality, but they have the hierarchies in their dealing. Next example is from a short lyric, My Heart Leaps Up When I Behold. It is by William Wordsworth. In this poem, Wordsworth is recalling his past memories or past, and he says the child is father of the man. Now, after reading it, we don't agree with it, because we find that how can a child be a father of man? But but if we probe it further, then we find that Wordsworth wants to say that childhood, the experiences of childhood, plays a very important role in the life of an adult. Childhood shapes. Childhood shapes the life of a man, and the activities or the experiences, or it creates the adulthood, whatever man is. So in that sense we find that it is very true. Yes, we agree with it. So the child is the father of the man, in the sense that the experiences of childhood and the all whatever a child experiences, it goes into his psyche, and whatever man grows later, it has its effect in his adult life. So child is the father of man. It is a paradoxical statement, and we find it true. Next is antithesis. Antithesis is, the definition is, in literary analysis, an antithesis is a pair of statements. We will find in it pair of statements. That means we are going to find in it two statements or images or concepts or ideas. Two concepts or ideas are will be there in antithesis, in which the one reverses the other. Means both the concepts or ideas which we will find in antithesis, they will be in contrast, they will be the opposite. The pair is written with similar grammatical structures to show more contrast. Now there is one more feature of antithesis, that both the sentences will be written in the similar grammatical structure. We'll see the example, it will be more clear to you, and that means there will be a parallelism. There will be a parallel of grammatical structure in antithesis. The first example you can see: to err is human, to forgive divine. I think that you have noticed that there are two statements which, as per the definition, to err is human, to forgive divine, and both are in reverse, both are in contrast. One is talking about error, and one is talking about forgiving. In the first sentence there is human, and in the second sentence there is divine. So these very opposite sentences are kept together here, and they are separated by this semicolon. So such type of structure is of antithesis, and what it conveys, that human has both the qualities, humanly and godly, and human can commit mistakes, but the same human is capable of making others free from their blame. That means human can forgive too, so he has a divine qualities. In this way it has a deeper meaning, and it is antithesis. Speech is silver, but silence is gold. Again we have find opposites in this: speech in the contrast of silence, silver and gold. Third example: love is an ideal thing, marriage a real thing. Now here, love, in the first sentence we find love in the contrast of marriage, and then there is ideal and real in the second sentence. And very noticeable thing, it is very striking to us that in antithesis there will be two sentences which will be separated by but, semicolon, dash, and they will be in opposite. They will be the opposite of each other. They will inverse in the relation of inversion. Next example is also of antithesis, and it is by the acclaimed writer Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. This is one of the famous novels by him, and these are the very opening lines of this novel. And in this we find that he has listed up so many antitheses in his opening. You can see, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, age of wisdom, age of foolishness, epoch of belief, epoch of incredulity, season of light, season of darkness, spring of hope, winter of despair. So these all interesting and alluring antitheses has been used by him in a very excellent manner. So these look very interesting, very effective. At the same time, Dickens becomes successful in building up the atmosphere of confusion and division of that era by using this device, this technique. You can see best of times, worst of times, how much confused it is, how much divided it is. It was just near the time was of French Revolution, whatever. But here antithesis has been employed by Charles Dickens in a very effective manner. Next example is from Paradise Lost by John Milton. This statement is by his anti-hero Satan. He says, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Now this statement is clearly an antithesis, and here what Satan is saying, that he would prefer to be a king in hell than to be a servant in heaven. So here we can see reign and serve, ruling and serving. Hell and heaven are in clear opposite, and they are separated by this conjunction than. And one more thing, that through this statement Satan has tried to justify his rebellion against God. So there is also antithesis. Next is oxymoron. Oxymoron is a figure of speech in which two seemingly opposing and contradictory elements are juxtaposed. Oxymoron is also one of the famous technique in which simply if we say that two words are combined together which are contradictory, it is a combination of two words which contradict each other to create an effect. It is a very effective, and it conveys very deeper meaning where two words are juxtaposed, they are kept together. And if we see this word oxymoron, it is made from two Greek words, oxus and moros, and the oxymoron word itself is an oxymoron. It has an oxymoronic effect. What I want to say, that you see, oxus, the word first word oxus means sharp or keen, and moros means dull or stupid. So there see the combination, oxymoron, oxus moros, sharp, dull, keen, stupid. So it is giving a meaning like wise, foolishness. So it itself is oxymoron word. And this is a list of so many oxymorons. You can uh, read them. And first is act naturally. Act is very artificial thing, and naturally is natural, and they are kept together to give a different meaning. Act naturally, alone, together, amazingly awful, bittersweet, clearly confused, dark light, deafening silence, and so on and so forth. You can read it out. So these are the terms, which terms and techniques which are contradictory, absurd, and silly. So it is very common to be confused among them. Usually they create confusion among the readers, like paradox, antithesis, and oxymoron. But if we notices them, if we give a little notice, then we can find very distinctions in these terms. So let's see. Paradox is a sentence or a group of sentences which creates contradiction in the reader. Which is paradox is the statement, paradoxical statement is contradictory to the reader's perception, to what the readers think. It is contradictory to them. Whereas oxymoron is also a type of paradox, but it is a combination of two contradictory words, two words which contradict each other. Oxymoron, to create an effect, to give more sense and deeper meaning and different meaning. Oxymoron is a combination of two words which are in contradiction to each other. And antithesis is has a different touch altogether, as we can very easily identify this term, because in antithesis there are two statements which are in contrast, which are in opposite to each other, and they are the reverse of each other, and usually they are separated by any punctuation mark or any conjunction. So these are the clear differences among them, and I hope that you have got the hang of these terms, and you will not confuse now among these terms. So that's all for today. I look forward to see you in the next lecture. Thank you for your attention.